Her stepbrother took it all. Part 3. Chapter 12, The New Queen in Town. Power, when reclaimed, doesn't whisper. It doesn't tiptoe in wearing shame or second chances. It announces itself bold, undeniable, surgical. 6 months ago, Dannielle had vanished. Today, she returned with an empire. The announcement dropped at 8:01 a.m. on a Tuesday. Introducing Nightshade, the PR firm that cleans up what others can't touch. A simple, striking black and white website with one single line beneath the title. Let's clean up your past. No backstory. No founders listed. No contact form. Just a referral-only link and one glowing testimonial from an anonymous A-list actress. They don't spin stories. They erase them. And then rewrite your legend. By noon, media insiders were already buzzing. By 3 p.m., the launch had trended on Twitter under the hashtag Nightshade Method. Because everyone knew what it meant. Maddox was back. But this wasn't the shy, grateful girl from a few years ago. This was someone sharper. Louder. Dangerous in heels and silence. And she wasn't coming to compete. She was coming to dominate. Nightshade wasn't built for polished brands. It was made for scandal kings, chaos queens, and billionaires with bloody fingerprints. Clients were vetted, then hunted. She took on names other firms refused: the toxic, the cancelled, the morally radioactive. And she spun them back into relevance, power, and public favor like it was child's play. A disgraced biotech exec? Now speaking at TEDx about ethical innovation. An influencer caught in a luxury tax fraud scheme? Rebranded as a financial literacy coach. A pop star who punched a paparazzo? Now the face of a mental health nonprofit. People called it dark magic. She called it strategy. Dannielle didn't hide behind the curtain this time. At her first public appearance, a high-profile PR summit downtown, she stepped on stage to a packed room of executives, journalists, and image consultants wearing a tailored black suit with razor-sharp lapels, a deep crimson blouse, and stilettos that clicked like punctuation marks. Her red hair was down now. Sleek. Unapologetic. She didn't smile much. Didn't need to. She spoke for exactly 9 minutes. Her opening line? Everyone in this room has lied for a client. The difference is, I'm honest about it. The room went silent. Then erupted in applause. By the end of her talk, the media had already named her the industry's necessary villain. They didn't mean it as a compliment. But she took it like a crown. Tristan saw the news later that night while scrolling through trade headlines. The photo stopped him cold. Her photo. Dannielle. Not Isla. Not a ghost in red lipstick. But her. Name on the record. Full face, full force. Dannielle Maddox returns with Nightshade is she PR's darkest news star. He stared at the screen for a long time. Because in all his maneuvering, his sabotage, his calculated obliteration, he had forgotten to kill one thing. Her voice. And now? She was everywhere. Again. But different. More dangerous. More loved ironically by the same media elite who once ignored her. In the following days, Tristan watched as Nightshade eroded his dominance. 2 of his former clients jumped ship and signed with her firm quietly, but publicly enough to be noticed. She was all anyone talked about at industry events. The whispers were relentless. Have you seen their crisis turnarounds? I heard she charges 6 figures just to take your call. She turned a TikTok cancellation into a book deal. She destroyed a private equity firm with a single thread. Even his new girlfriend, an overpolished, over-edited wellness entrepreneur, asked about her at dinner. That Nightshade woman is kind of scary hot, right? She said with a giggle. Tristan didn't laugh. He clenched his fork. Hard. Across the city, Dannielle stood in her new corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows, views over the skyline, the city beneath her like a chessboard. She watched the sun dip behind the buildings, one hand resting on the glass. Behind her, her assistant entered with a tablet. "Final numbers are in," they said. "We're booked out 6 months. And?" Dannielle turned. "And?" she asked. "We've officially overtaken Maddox Elevate in digital visibility. You're trending above him." Dannielle raised one brow. "That's cute," she said. "Let me know when we out-earn him." That night, she added one more note to her wall of names. Not a target. Not a downfall. Just a phrase, written in deep red ink across a clean white page. The Queen never had to scream. She just took her throne. And outside, as Tristan scrolled endlessly through headlines that no longer belonged to him, he didn't yet know the most terrifying part of all. She hadn't even started destroying him yet. Chapter 13, Enemies at the Gala. The gala was for charity, of course. They always were. This one supported youth innovation, or maybe sustainable tech pipelines, no one really knew. It didn't matter. What mattered was who showed up. And everyone who mattered did. Influencers with new money. Politicians with old sins. Journalists in borrowed couture. Investors hunting for the next marketable messiah. And near the center of it all, like a sun-damaged statue brought out for display, stood Tristan Maddox, drink in hand, smile surgically in place, shaking hands like nothing around him was cracking. But it was. He just didn't know how fast. He'd been hearing her name more lately. Dannielle. Not Isla. Not that redhead. No, Dannielle Maddox. The name had returned with weight. With fire. And as the whispers got louder, as clients defected, as headlines shifted, he'd begun to suspect the thing he refused to believe. That she hadn't vanished. She'd evolved. Tonight, she would prove it. Dannielle arrived exactly 43 minutes after the red carpet closed. No photographers. No press line. She entered through a side entrance with 2 executives in tow and a presence that split the room on impact. The gown was black, sculptural and quiet, not flashy, but commanding. The kind of dress that whispered wealth, not screamed it. Her hair was a slick, deep red halo around her high cheekbones, her mouth painted the color of expensive danger. She didn't announce herself. She didn't need to. By the time she reached the main ballroom, half the guests were already glancing in her direction. Tristan didn't notice her at first. He was too busy charming someone's wife, grinning through another conversation he didn't care about, drinking his 3rd glass of something he couldn't taste. Then someone said her name. "Have you met Dannielle Maddox yet? I hear she just closed a 7-figure crisis deal." And Time hiccuped. He turned slowly, like his spine didn't want to obey, and saw her. Across the room. Poised. Regal. Alive. And looking right at him. For a moment, no one else existed. The music faded. The clinking glasses disappeared. It was just them. The predator and the architect. The destroyer and the survivor, now walking straight toward him in stilettos that echoed off the marble like war drums. When she stopped in front of him, she smiled. Cool. Controlled. That quiet, unshakable smile that once lived behind textbook pages and school cafeteria silence. Now? It was polished into a weapon. "Tristan," she said. He blinked. Just once. His throat tightened. "You look different. You look tired," she replied. Then added, "Burnout's a bitch." He opened his mouth to say something clever, but nothing came. Because now, up close, he saw it. The eyes. The jawline. The very specific way she tilted her head when someone tried to intimidate her. It was her. Dannielle. The stepsister. The one he buried. The one he stole from. And she wasn't hiding anymore. "You're using your real name again," he said. "Didn't need a fake one anymore," she said, brushing a non-existent wrinkle off her glove. "Turns out, I was never the problem. Just the wrong story. You've made yourself quite the comeback." Oh, sweetie. Her smile widened, just enough to show teeth. This isn't the comeback. A pause. This is just the prologue. He stared at her. Searched for the girl he used to control. The one who kept her head down, who flinched when he walked into a room. She wasn't there. In her place stood someone who thrived in fire. Someone who had watched him, stalked him, learned his patterns, dismantled his allies, and smiled while doing it. He swallowed. Are you trying to ruin me? She tilted her head again. Tristan. The pause was brutal. If I were trying, you'd already be gone. And just like that, she stepped back. One elegant motion. Turned on her heel. And walked away. No theatrics. No screaming. Just calm, regal departure. Leaving him in a cold sweat and the sinking realization that he wasn't the smartest one in the room anymore. He watched her disappear into a circle of editors and CEOs, laughing softly, her hand resting on the arm of a foreign dignitary who seemed instantly charmed. His drink trembled in his hand. Someone beside him said, "Are you okay?" He blinked, swallowed, smiled automatically. Yeah, he lied. Just got a little dizzy. But inside? He knew the truth. He wasn't the one pulling the strings anymore. Chapter 14, The Setup Revealed. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Dannielle preferred it slow roasted. Patient. Marinated in silence. Garnished with confusion. To Tristan, everything that had happened so far looked like chaos. A string of bad luck. A woman scorned. An empire shaking at the edges. But what he didn't know, what no one knew, was that none of it was an accident. It was a setup. The setup. And she'd been building it from the moment she walked out of her shattered office and into the dark. She sat at a scarred wood table in a $600 a month apartment that reeked of old coffee and ambition. On the wall behind her, dozens of sticky notes were arranged in a precise pattern, color-coded, connected by string, and punctuated with timelines. One word written in the center. Maddox. It wasn't just Tristan. It was the entire ecosystem around him, the parasites, the cowards, the enablers, the believers. She started with Savannah Gray, the influencer girlfriend who loved company cards and backdated receipts. Dannielle hadn't just discovered the embezzlement. She'd planted the breadcrumb that tempted Savannah into making her sloppiest move. A shell corporation registered under an alias. A consulting contract with vague terms. An opportunity sent via a forged talent manager. Savannah took the bait in under 48 hours. Hook. Line. Implosion. Then there was Marcus Finn, the serial founder with the shady metrics. Dannielle had downloaded all 5 of his company sites. Scoured every API ping. She found the inflated numbers before the journalists did. And then? She created a throwaway email and submitted a whistleblower tip to a venture capital watchdog blog, one she knew Tristan's fund watched closely. The moment the post went live, the damage began. And when Marcus panicked and called Tristan for help, Tristan didn't pick up. Isolation. Infection. Containment failure. Sienna Ray had been easier. Wannabe lifestyle mogul with no business background. Dannielle created a fake fan account, fed it admiration for 6 weeks, then sent an anonymous tip with plagiarized wellness content flagged by bots. The rest? The internet handled it with fire and glee. Manipulate the mob, and they'll eat who you feed them. But the most intricate move? Getting inside Maddox Elevate. That wasn't just luck or disguise. It was infiltration. She built the Isla Vance identity with surgical precision, an entire fabricated career, digital breadcrumbs that stretched back years, interviews ghostwritten by AI, online articles uploaded to low-traffic blogs. Even a fake LinkedIn, with mutual contacts and employment history vetted by bots and human fallibility. And the headhunter agency that got her the consulting gig? Also her. Registered under a Delaware LLC, with just enough legitimacy to make it real, but just enough shadow to make it vanish when needed. She didn't find a back door into Tristan's house. She built the damn hallway herself. Once inside, she studied everything. Recorded meetings. Monitored Slack channels. Positioned herself within earshot of Tristan's lieutenants. She flattered the assistants. Bought coffee for interns. Listened more than she spoke. And then she started extracting weaknesses. Secrets. Patterns. She learned that Tristan always reused his passwords. That he never checked URLs on internal links. That he relied too heavily on his CFO and barely understood the structure of his shell companies. She found one email in a buried chain that referred to a tax shelter under investigation and quietly forwarded it to a contact she'd made inside the IRS. Delayed detonation. Incoming. But she didn't stop there. She went deeper. Into reputation psychology. Into algorithm manipulation. Into optics warfare. She learned how to nudge stories in Tristan's favor just enough to earn his trust, then pulled the rug at the worst possible moment. She orchestrated 2 strategic media leaks that seemed like minor annoyances. They weren't. They were calibrated hits, designed to soften him up. To make him reactive. To get him used to the feeling of small fires. So when the real blaze started, he'd think it was just another spark. Predictable enemies are the easiest to seduce. And the easiest to destroy. And then came the final psychological twist, presence. Showing up. Again and again. In red. With silence. Isla Vance became his obsession. A shape in the crowd. A pause in his thoughts. A thorn in his memory. He tried to place her. Tried to own the narrative. But she always disappeared just before he could. She made him doubt his instincts. Doubt his mind. Doubt himself. By the time they locked eyes at the gala, she didn't need to say anything. He already knew. The war was never about screaming. It was about remembering what you did, in the presence of the person who survived it. Back in the present, Dannielle stood in her office, overlooking the city like a queen surveying conquered land. She turned away from the window, back to her private war room. Red string. Black and white photos. Digital records. Legal printouts. The final stage was ready. But not for destruction. Not yet. Destruction was easy. This next part? This part was art. Chapter 15, Gaslight the Gaslighter. It started with a calendar glitch. One morning, Tristan's assistant walked into his office, pale-faced and confused. Hey, did you move your meeting with Voxora's board? No, Tristan replied, barely looking up. Why? They said you confirmed the reschedule personally. Emailed twice. Even CC'd my address. But, she trailed off. I didn't send anything. And your signature looks off. Tristan frowned. Show me. She did. There it was, a polite, professional email, the exact tone he used, with a signature block perfectly formatted, complete with his digital watermark. Except he never sent it. He was sure. Wasn't he? He brushed it off. AI scam. People forge stuff all the time. Right, the assistant said. I'll just fix the call. But she hesitated at the door before leaving. It was the first seed. The second came a week later. He was scrolling through his phone when he saw it, a screenshot of a text exchange. Posted by a gossip account. Anonymous tip. No source. In the thread, Tristan Maddox was seen sending flirty, suggestive messages to someone named Lex, an influencer with a public boyfriend and a brand to protect. Tristan's name was clearly visible. So was his photo. The language matched his style. Even the emojis were right. But he never wrote those texts. At least, he didn't think he did. His hands started to sweat. He went back through his texts. Nothing. Then checked his backups, his cloud, his notes. Still nothing. Then he thought, maybe someone hacked me. But when he told his tech team to run a security audit, they came back with silence. No breach, they said. Everything's clean. But if everything was clean, how were the messages so real? The third strike landed harder. His legal team called in a panic. Why did you sign the NDA release for Devon Communications? What NDA release? Tristan snapped. There was a pause. We have the scanned form. Your signature. Your initials on every page. Timestamped 2 days ago. I never. Tristan, the partner interrupted, this just nullified a $5 million arbitration clause. If Devon speaks, we're toast. He stared at the email. At the signature. It looked exactly like his. It was his. Down to the flick of the last X. But he hadn't touched a pen in weeks. Had he? He didn't sleep that night. He sat in the dark of his penthouse, scrolling back through emails, texts, messages, voice notes. Things looked familiar. But too perfect. Too timed. A voice memo from a Zoom call, one where he sounded drunk, hostile, arrogant, surfaced in a private Slack channel used by investors. He didn't remember recording it. Didn't remember saying those things. But it sounded like him. And the worst part? Everyone else thought it was. That week, 2 more clients paused their deals. A podcast dropped him from a speaking event. A comment section filled with "Is Tristan okay?" and "Why's he melting down in public?" And still he had no answers. It was like someone had taken his memories and rearranged them. Like someone had broken into his life with a scalpel, slicing out control. He began to spiral. He started recording his calls. Tracking his own schedule. Setting up dual authentication on his email, only to find his signature used again on a confidential memo he swore he never opened. He stopped trusting his staff. He fired 2 assistants in 3 weeks. Accused his intern of spying for a rival firm. Yelled at his CTO in a board meeting. Rumors started to swirl. Is he cracking? Too much pressure. I heard he's on something. And in the middle of it all, she kept appearing. Isla. Dannielle. Cool. Unbothered. Effortless. At a press preview for a new luxury campaign, he saw her standing beside a Vogue editor laughing softly. He froze. The moment she caught his eye, she raised a brow. No words. No nod. Just that look. The one that said, "You're slipping. And I'm watching." He couldn't prove anything. No fingerprints. No emails. No legal link. Just the unrelenting feeling that he was being hunted by a ghost who knew every inch of his mind. Because that's what she was now. She wasn't the girl he used to bully. She wasn't the woman he tried to erase. She was a presence in the walls, in the mirrors, in the unanswered questions. She was control, weaponized. And now, he was the one spiraling, explaining things no one believed, gasping for air while the world insisted the oxygen was fine. He'd spent years convincing others that she was unstable. Now, even he couldn't trust his own reflection. Back in her office, Dannielle stood before a corkboard covered in smiling press photos of Tristan, all printed in black and white. Across the top, she had written in ink. Step 1, unravel his reality. Beneath it. Step 2, erase his identity. She circled the next item on her list. Voice print mimic tech rightward arrow ready for final drop? She smirked. Let Tristan dig for hackers and lawsuits. Because the real virus was in his memory. And it was only just beginning to spread. Chapter 16, Mommy Issues. For years, Veronica Maddox had only ever seen her son one way. Golden. Untouchable. The heir. He was the boy who never cried as a baby, who charmed teachers and scared off her awful first husband with a single glare by age 10. She loved him fiercely, indulgently so much that she'd rewritten reality to protect him. Every lie was a misunderstanding. Every cruel word was just him being blunt. Every whisper about his behavior was envy dressed as concern. And when her husband married Ellen and brought that girl into their lives, Veronica doubled down. She didn't hate Dannielle, not really. She just chose not to see her. She had a son to protect. And he was going to be brilliant. But now? Something was off. It started when the calls stopped coming. Tristan, once obsessed with image, had gone silent. No updates about the firm. No guest list invites. No spin. Just vague texts, missed birthdays, and most telling no PR coverage. Veronica had always used his name like a brand. My son, Tristan? You've seen him on Forbes. TEDx. The panel with the crypto twins. But lately, people looked confused. Disinterested. Or worse, amused. And when she brought him up at a luncheon, a woman laughed and said, "Didn't he just lose, like, half his board? I heard he's having a crisis of confidence." That night, Veronica called him. And for the first time in years, her son didn't sound like her son. He answered with a growl. "I'm in the middle of something. Can this wait?" "Excuse me," she said, caught off guard. He sighed heavily. Sorry. I just things are hectic. You haven't been returning my messages." "I've been busy, mother." That word. Mother. He only used it when he was angry. "What's going on, Tristan?" "People are talking. I read something about a leaked memo." "Fake," he snapped. "All of it." "Lies. Then why haven't you said anything publicly?" "Because I'm handling it." "Pause, are you?" she asked gently. He hung up. 2 days later, Dannielle called Ellen. Her voice was calm. Her tone steady. She simply asked if Veronica might be open to a conversation. Not about Tristan. About truth. At first, Ellen hesitated. "She won't listen to me." She never did. But Dannielle wasn't calling for permission. She was calling because the groundwork had been laid. The articles. The rumors. The soft public pivot toward poor Dannielle, the misunderstood stepdaughter, the overlooked genius, the survivor. She knew Veronica would come. And she did. They met at a quiet cafe uptown. Veronica arrived late, wearing oversized sunglasses and tension like a perfume. She sat down stiffly. "You wanted a conversation," she said. "So talk." Dannielle didn't flinch. "I know what he did." Veronica scoffed. "You're still clinging to." "No," Dannielle said. "Not the high school nonsense. Not the sabotage. Not even the money. I'm talking about the lying. The forged documents. The clients he stole. The people he crushed on his way up. And the ones he's trying to destroy on the way down." Veronica stared at her. "I have proof," Dannielle said softly. She slid a single folder across the table. Inside, a handful of curated documents. Nothing too damning, just enough to plant doubt. And at the very top? An expense report from Veronica's own charitable trust with Tristan's digital signature, misappropriating funds for an off-books brand retreat. Her name. On a shell account. Her face drained. "That can't be real," she whispered. Dannielle just looked at her. Didn't push. Didn't smirk. Just waited. Veronica closed the folder. "I need to go," she said, standing. I need time." Dannielle nodded. "I'll be here." That night, Veronica called Ellen. She didn't say much. Just one line. "You were right about her. I think she's the only one who's ever told the truth." And the next morning, she sent a short, private message to Dannielle. "Thank you for your grace. I see more now than I did then. I'm sorry." She signed it. Veronica. Not Mrs. Maddox. Not your father's wife. Just Veronica. For the first time in years, Dannielle felt something unfamiliar. Not victory. Not triumph. Just a strange, cautious sense of closure. Meanwhile, Tristan sensed the shift. He called his mother that afternoon. "Hey," he said. "Just wanted to say I'm sending flowers for the dinner next week." "I cancelled the dinner," Veronica said. He paused. "You, what?" "I cancelled it," she repeated. "The last thing I need is to parade around a family name that's being dragged through scandal forums like a reality show." "Mom." "No, Tristan," she said, firm now. "You need help. And before you ask, no. I'm not writing any more checks." Silence. "I'm your son," he said coldly. "Yes," she replied. "But she was your sister." "And then?" She hung up. He stared at his phone for a long time. Then hurled it across the room. It didn't shatter. But something else inside him did. Because when your enemies turn on you, you can regroup. But when your mother stops believing you, there's nowhere left to hide. Chapter 17, CEO No More. There are two kinds of downfalls. The slow, quiet ones played out in courtrooms and spreadsheets. And the spectacular ones. The kind that explode across headlines in the middle of the night, that go viral before breakfast, that become hashtags and memes and, can you believe, texts shared across 5 continents by lunchtime. Tristan's was the second kind. It started at 6:42 a.m., when an anonymous YouTube channel posted a video titled, "Exclusive, Tristan Maddox melts down in private investor call, drunk?" Hi. The thumbnail, a blurred, grainy still of Tristan mid-rant, shirt slightly unbuttoned, red-faced, holding a tumbler of something amber. The caption claimed it was never meant to be seen by the public. Of course it wasn't. That's what made it irresistible. By 8 a.m., it had hit the front page of Reddit. By 8:10, it was trending under hashtag Maddox Meltdown. And by 8:45, the board had called an emergency meeting. The video was 6 minutes long. Long enough to ruin a man. It opened with Tristan slurring into a screen, clearly on a video call, alone in what appeared to be his home office, the wall behind him decorated with framed Forbes features and meaningless startup awards. "Let's stop pretending these investors know what they're doing," he mumbled, swirling his drink. "Half of them got rich from accidents and luck. They don't build, they buy, then sit around asking for ROI like spoiled toddlers with term sheets." A chuckle. A long sip. "I could feed them a pile of branded horse sh*t in a PowerPoint and they'd still throw money at it as long as it had the word disrupt on slide 2. Another sip. Louder now. "And don't get me started on the ESG crowd virtue signalers with a VC fetish. They'll fund a hot air balloon if it claims to offset carbon. Idiots." There was more. Too much more. Mentions of a fake diversity initiative. An employee bonus pool that doesn't exist yet, but sounds good. A final line delivered with a smirk. "The whole thing's just smoke and mirrors, baby. But hey, if you say it with confidence, it's strategy." He raised the glass. "To the scam." Cut to black. The backlash was immediate. Media outlets raced to verify the clip. Investors scrambled for damage control. 3 withdrew their involvement from upcoming projects before noon. Clients issued statements. So did sponsors. Everyone moved like he was radioactive. By the time Tristan arrived at his office, the building security team had already been instructed not to allow press past the lobby. The receptionist looked up at him with wide, nervous eyes. Mr. Maddox, the board's waiting upstairs." Of course they were. They met in the sleek glass-walled conference room he'd once referred to as the throne. Now? It felt like a guillotine. 12 people. All in suits. Most with open laptops. All of them looking at him differently. No forced smiles. No faux respect. Just exhaustion. And distance. "We're going to make this fast," said Joanna Bellamy, the board chair. Her tone was neutral. "Brutal. Your behavior is now a direct liability. You've all seen the clip?" Tristan asked, trying to keep his voice level. "Yes," she replied. "So has the rest of the world. It was taken out of context." "Were you drunk?" Silence. "Were you high?" Tristan clenched his jaw. "It was a private call. So you confirm it happened?" He didn't answer. Joanna tapped a file in front of her. "We've reviewed the bylaws. Based on breach of fiduciary duty, reputational harm, and erosion of stakeholder trust, the board has voted to remove you as acting CEO, effective immediately. Wait. You may remain on the board in a non-voting advisory role, pending a formal audit. I founded this company. And now we're saving it from you." It hit like a slap. Not the words he'd expected those. But the finality in her tone. The calm in her face. They weren't panicked. They were prepared. He scanned the room again. None of them looked at him like a peer. Not anymore. They looked at him like a PR problem they were too tired to spin. He stood. Slowly. Swallowed the venom rising in his throat. "This is a mistake," he said. Joanna didn't respond. When he left the building, cameras were already waiting. Not many. Just a few. But enough. Someone shouted, "Do you still stand by your comments, Mr. Maddox?" He didn't answer. He just got into the black car waiting at the curb and stared straight ahead. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Another resignation. Another contract dropped. Another text from his lawyer. "Need to talk. Press is circling. And the IRS wants a word." And through it all, echoing like a song stuck in his head. That voice. Hers. "If I were trying, you'd already be gone." Across the city, in her glass office, Dannielle stood before her team. "Phase 3 is complete," her operations lead confirmed. "He's out." She didn't smile. "Begin Phase 4. Want us to notify the press?" She shook her head. "No," she said. "Let them figure it out for themselves." She walked back to her window, watching the clouds roll over the skyline like waves crashing in slow motion. The king was off the throne. The castle was crumbling. And the wind was howling. But she wasn't done. Not yet.
They lied. They cheated. They betrayed the one person who gave them everything. But guess what? The truth always finds a voice, and here, it screams. If you live for chaos, loyalty gone wrong, and revenge served cold. Like this video. Drop a comment. And hit subscribe, because on Family Drama Unleashed, we don't forgive, and we never forget. Tap that bell, because the next betrayal? It's already on its way.